characters, Bojji and Kage, deserve the goddamn world after the bullshit they had to go through. After last week's episode, with episode 1, Kage seemed like he was a manipulator who would eventually turn good. And based on the kind of what they told us about their species, I was like, okay, maybe they are just assassins and up to no good. We really shouldn't judge books by its cover based on the bullshit that this kingdom spews, because, well, definitely Bojji Swordmaster had the right intentions given that this kingdom would consider that dirty and not fighting of a king. It's bullshit, don't get me wrong, but given the circumstances, that beating basically saved him, despite me not wanting to say those words. And Kage, the fact that he was a genuine good kid, and when the mother died for him, and then just to see how the next parental figure in his life turned him into a crook, and ultimately you just look at why he's like where we ended up in episode 1 with the original meeting of this horrible slimeball looking character taking advantage of a deaf kid, someone who can't speak, someone who can't hear, and then you just see what it really means, and to see them now connected fully, not wasting any time. I really think Bojji and Kage are going to take over the goddamn world, and I'm here for it. This was even better than episode 1. I mentioned how I thought this was a classic in the making. Remind me of Ghibli / old Disney movies. It's such an interesting aesthetic. Look at some of these goddamn backgrounds. They are drop dead gorgeous. But the thing that is going to make this such a compelling watch is the emotional journey and the struggles a character like a prince who should be king someday but isn't able to pick up a sword, so how will he be able to lead? A brother who, I'm not sure if it's the same species as Kage, but clearly some form of shadow creature based on the glimpse of this episode. We want this kid to succeed, and it's going to be a painful ass journey to get there, but it's going to be a rewarding journey, it's crystal clear. Without a doubt, I think this will be my anime of the year. And that's saying a hell of a lot because the second season of Megalobox I didn't think would be able to be top for me just because of how emotionally engaged it was. But like this show, I'm so glad we're getting 23 episodes. Holy shit, this is quality. Now the Kage backstory was everything it needed to be. I actually didn't think we were going to see the sword match in this episode. I thought it was going to be strictly on the backstory, which quickly I was down for. That princess is probably like the MVP of the episode, I gotta be honest. The fact that because they hid him when they were trying to hunt him down, otherwise this poor boy would have been killed. And it's interesting because first impressions, especially on an impressionable kid at that point, could very well shape who he would become down the line. So by having a nice princess, save him and not screw him over or anything like that, he generally tried to be a good person. The backstory with the mother getting him a present, the fact that he just wanted to exchange something that meant so much to him for a simple apple, a tomato, something, and they refused. So when he put it up there and took it and tried to run away and they just beat him to a bloody pulp, that was heartbreaking. Not only did he lose that childhood memory, he got punished for it. And yeah, obviously that's not what they do. They trade with money, but this poor kid, man. I was fuming at this kingdom. And if they need you to get fuming at this kingdom, they did a hell of a good job. The fact that the kingdom is such an interesting character as a whole with the scumminess, but how real it feels given the type of time period and political hierarchy, the poor versus the rich and all that kind of depressing jazz. They really are sticking its landing with that. And to see the man who took him for granted and used him to steal, and the fact that there's this genuine father love there, at least from Kage. I thought it was completely one-sided, but based on the tavern brawl and the fact that he showed a sign of remorse, it did feel like in the final moments he recognized that he was a pretty shitty person. Does it excuse what he did to Kage? Absolutely not. But does it at the very least show that, there was some genuine change of heart? Absolutely. So to see why he was so manipulative when he met up with Bojji, and it didn't even cross my mind the reason Bojji was so good at dodging was because we kind of have a Daredevil situation. There's this kind of phenomena that as you lose certain senses, your other senses get heightened. He can't hear. His sight's really good, so he can read lips very, very well. That's why he understands what people are saying. The idea that he can't talk, but he has this very good spatial awareness that he can very much dodge, and I think Daredevil is probably the best comparison, despite one being a superhero, one being a medieval fantasy, but it kind of is that same ballpark. And it's so interesting because even though I don't think this boy will ever swing a sword like his brother or his father, I still don't see any reason why there couldn't be a blade made with this kingdom, with the money they have, that would be light but sharp. And if that's the case, Bojji would kick some goddamn ass. And I understand on like why the kingdom would view that as dirty, because there's this whole bullshit knight code of honorable fighting. Honestly, if Bojji kicked him in the goddamn balls and slapped him across the face, Bojji goddamn is at a disadvantage with his, like, you know, his disabilities. He can't speak, he can't hear. Hell, the kingdom walks all over him. He walks home without his clothes and people laugh. Like, that's fighting dirty. Fighting your brother is fighting dirty. So if he wanted to fight what is considered dirty, I think goddamn show some little compassion and respect. But you know anything about knight codes and kingdoms, like, you understand why they view it like that. And I'm interested because with last week's episode, Bojji's Swordmaster was very much like wanting to teach the brother, because it feels like he's wasting his potential on a kid who's never going to get stronger. So the fact that he stood up for him and saved his ass, basically, despite the brutal beatdown, that was the only option, right? Because ultimately he would have been disowned, if not worse, right? Maybe he would have had hits on his head for that type of behavior. Would we really want a future king who fights like that? Like I said, I don't agree with this mindset, but that's the mindset of the kingdom. So I'm curious if this will be a change of heart for his character, given that he'll now want to train Bojji, seeing that he has potential, but he doesn't have the ability to wield a sword. So even though he feels bad for him, I'm wondering if there's going to be that desire to find a fighting style that would let him win, or if he's really going to basically abandon him. But it'll be interesting to see where they want to go from here, because from the brutal-ass beatdown of him trying to afterwards hold up the sword, breaking down and crying, to Kage, who admits that, like, I'm not going to use you, I'm not going to steal from you, I'm going to be by your side. Holy shit, that got me teary-eyed, I'm not going to lie. Like, that was really emotionally well done. And I would go as far as to say, now this may be considered premature for some people, but given how many goddamn anime episodes I've watched this year, I think I can say this with confidence. For me, myself, this is my personal favorite episode of this year. And despite only have seen 2 episodes of Ranking of Kings, it did exactly what a show by this point should do. Get you connected to the duo, show you something unique, both aesthetically and narratively. I truly don't think I've ever seen an anime like this. Honestly, I think this is completely fresh and a classic in the making. And I think you'll definitely see the most passionate reviews, which I always give passion in my reviews, but I think you're going to see a different level of passion oozing from me when I'm covering this show, because it is unlike anything I've ever seen, and I hope more people will continue to check it out. Had a lot of people say they didn't even hear of it until my review, so that makes me feel like, okay, I'm glad I cover those shows that maybe don't have the initial hype going into the season, but probably build it throughout it. Let me know your thoughts and feelings so on this episode. Kage, Bojji, the duel, the bullshit, the emotion. Let me know your feelings. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.